Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Poker Showdown, brought to you by Party Poker. I am your host, Jaime Staples. This week, we have Adam Pliska on the show, the president and CEO of the World Poker Tour. Fascinating to talk with him about the business of the World Poker Tour, the upcoming World Poker Tour World Online Championships going on this summer on Party Poker. So it's a really interesting conversation. I love to pick his brain and just talk shop. So that's coming up a little bit later in the show. But before that, let's talk about some of the online poker news this week. So we must kick off with the WPT World Online Championships going on this summer. 100 million guarantee, 12 championship events, buy-ins from $33 all the way up to $102,000. This is going on July 17th until September 8th. So an incredible series, and you'll hear all about like why I think it's going to be so special in the podcast with Adam, the conversation with Adam. But the winners of the 5 championship events will receive Champions Cup trophies, will join the exclusive WPT Champions Club. They'll also win a $15,000 ticket to the WPT Tournament of Champions. So like a full-on win for that, which is pretty cool. The main tournament is a 10 million guaranteed buy-in of 10,300. So massive tournaments. Can't wait to play it. I'm going to have to get on my satellite grind. By the way, chances to qualify are going to start from $4, 22, 109 buy-in events, all the way up to the main. So should be pretty amazing. Cannot wait to get started and play this series. Another series going on right now is Party Poker's hosting the Inaugural Poker Masters Online Pot Limit Omaha series. The series is taking place from June 21st to June 29th. All tournaments are going to last 2 days, so they're well-structured Pot Limit Omaha events, which I think is awesome. In tournaments, we don't often get well-structured Pot Limit Omaha events, so I think it's amazing. Buy-ins are going to range from $530 up to $51,000. That $530 buy-in threshold, I might be able to get in that one. I might be able to give that one a go. I think I might have to. That sounds fun to me. Best performer in the overall series will be awarded with a purple jacket and a $50,000 bonus. The main event of the series is going to be taking place the last 2 days with 1.5 million guaranteed in that tournament. There's also going to be a further 500,000 paid out in the mini main event. So very exciting there. Some additional series news. Unibet's Poker European Bounty Cup allows players to represent their country. This is a brand new series on Unibet running from June 12th to July 12th. For every bounty players win, they add to their national total. That's a really cool idea. I like that. Top 3 will then qualify for the free rolls for players from their respective country. The winners play for over 2,000 prize pools, and runners up play for €1,500 prize pool. Third place pays for €500 prize pool. So I really like the idea. Countries competing against each other. Good shout there, Unibet. I like the plan. Best of luck with the series. Let's get to the Roll of Honor now, where we shout out some of the most amazing scores from the week. And this week, we have a podcast guest. Is there a correlation? Is it related in any way? I don't know. You'd have to ask Mr. Ike Haxton himself to find out the answer to that. There might be something. I'm just saying. Come on the podcast. You might run good. The other podcasts say that. Why can't ours be a run good thing? High Roller Club main event, Isaac Haxton won the 1 million guaranteed main event for $437,000. So that's a pretty big chunk. Congratulations to Ike Haxton. And over on GG Poker, Lester Edoc took $285,000 for first place in the High Roller Millions 2 million guaranteed event. So that's it for the online poker news this week. And it's pretty much only online poker news this week. So let's get into the podcast with Adam Pliska. Amazing conversation here, just picking his brain about what is the WPT, what does it represent, why the WPT World Online Championships, how did it come about, like just all these really interesting questions from a guy that's at the top of a very important poker brand in our game. So exciting to speak with him. Without further ado, enjoy the conversation with Adam Pliska. Joining me on the podcast today, I have President and CEO of the World Poker Tour, Adam Pliska. Adam, thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Jamie. How you doing?
I'm doing great, my friend. All things considered, I mean, it's a crazy time in the world, but talking about poker today, so that's always a great thing.
It is.
I wanted to get started with your background. What brought you to the World Poker Tour, and how did you find yourself in the place of running the thing?
So it was not the traditional method of coming into poker, but I suspect everybody has a story in poker about what drew them to it. In my case, I was a lawyer and also had produced a number of television shows in the past. I had been hired by the Senate Judiciary Committee in the U.S. to work on judicial nominations, actually. And I got a call from somebody who I'd met on a television production. We had a mutual mentor on a show that we had done, and said, I started this show, and there's no distribution at all, but I got this guy, Lyle Berman, and he's put some money behind it, and we're making shows, and we really think we're going to get distribution. And it sounded a little far-fetched, but a few months later, he called back again and said, could you come in and help us with the legal matters, and maybe 3 weeks or so. So I said, sure. So for 3 weeks, I came in while I was preparing. I was going to go to the Senate, and then 3 weeks turned into 3 months, and I didn't go to the Senate, and that turned into a long time. And Lyle Berman wanted to bring the company public. We did that. And nearly 2 decades later, we're still here.
There it is. That's quite a journey. When you said lawyer, I didn't expect the dots to connect like that, but there you go.
Yeah.
So now, obviously, a very different day and age from back then when the show was starting. How has the WPT and the industry as a whole changed since you've been with the company?
Yeah. Well, it's funny because if you go back those 20 years ago, we were all pioneers. Everybody was a pioneer. Nobody knew what was actually happening.
Yeah.
The funny thing, for the next 10 years, everybody claimed they were geniuses because, of course, this turned out to be one of the biggest business stories in all of business in the 50 years preceding. But in truth, it was just an exciting time. You really felt that spirit of entrepreneurialism. People were coming in, trying new things, so many wacky things. I really hope you do a show one time on all of the things that didn't work, but we just, go back and review those things. But what I find interesting now is that I feel right now reminds me so much of those early days, because what we've had to do as an industry to stay relevant, to adjust during a global pandemic. You have almost a depression or a recession going on, and in parts of the country, in the U.S. and other economic problems, and you have obviously some very serious social issues going on, and the creativity and the enthusiasm of the industry. I haven't seen it like this quite frankly, since 2003. And so I just really give a lot of kudos to everybody who's in there, just still, making poker what it is now today.
Yeah, the adapting of live poker essentially being on hold, I think, is really interesting. And I want to talk about the World Poker Tour World Online Championships. We're going to get to that in a little bit, but how about for the WPT itself? How do you plan for this year in determining when can we come back to live poker? When should we come back to live poker? How are you thinking about those questions?
Yeah, it's obviously it's very important, and it's a great question. This is dynamic. I often tell my team that we think of visionaries as people who had this idea from the beginning and they knew, and the rest of the world had no idea. But really, what it's like for many of those people and many people in business, as you know, is that you think you have an idea, and you just keep pushing forward, and the dots connect a little bit more, and there's a little glimmer of light, and then a little glimmer of light. And then a few years later, when you survived and everybody said, "Oh, I knew you'd do all right," you go, "Of course." I knew it all the time.
Absolutely.
But in this case, it's a new dynamic, because it's not just about, normally the filters that the WPT would go through are what maintains the prestige of the brand, what maintains the professionalism, and that includes the community feedback, what maintains the integrity of the game. So now you have another variable which is literally the safety of people. So, and economics. There's always economics. But, in this case, we're getting lots of feedback from casinos. And we're, obviously they have a great incentive to start getting things open. What I've been encouraged about is all of the casinos have taken the safety elements quite seriously. And yes, there will be changes. It'll be different at the beginning, but we are starting to see, as I referenced, those little glimmers of light of where we start to see, oh, okay, this is how it's starting. And you look at what's happening, for example, down in Florida, of the enthusiasm to just get back there. So if we can combine the enthusiasm of the poker player and the seriousness of the casinos to take this serious, I actually think we're going to come out of this better. I think we're going to learn some very good best practices that are going to actually serve us beyond this current pandemic that we're experiencing.
I like how you point that out about the enthusiasm to return, because I feel like if everyone could go back to the pessimism of the end of 2019, and just like, oh man, everything's terrible. If we could just go back to that stage, life would be a lot better. I think it's funny you point that out. True. Do you play poker yourself?
The funny thing is I am being one of the longest serving executives in the poker industry. I had no background in poker at all. In fact, I often tell people that before I had come to the World Poker Tour, I don't remember gambling in a casino. I mean, it was just, and so to me, this is a business challenge. And I loved, I've been in business since I was 16 years old. And so I love this. And I love the element of management. I'm a very big proponent that you can treat people with dignity and respect and still have come out successfully economically. But what I didn't expect is how much I would come to appreciate what poker actually means in life. I now give a speech to college students, which is entitled "How to Lose," and I say, you go out in the world and in business, and people often will tell you everything you got to do to win, and you're preparing to win. But poker does a remarkable thing. It teaches you more about loss management than an entire MBA course will ever do. And loss management is so essential in business and life to make sure that when it's your time to succeed, that you're able to indeed go the full way without being drugged down from the negative effects of loss.
I think that's a great point. Last week I had Maria Konnikova. She wrote a book about poker that's coming out. It's called The Biggest Bluff. And it summarized a lot of the same things, the life lessons of poker. So it makes me so happy that someone at the top can get that aspect, because it's what I love about it as well. Do you play any hands now? Like, have you played any tournaments or like any cash games, or do you still just sit on the side and?
So I will play in charity tournaments. People love me in charity tournaments, right?
Right.
That is my contribution to a lot of good charities over the year, and I do occasionally play with some friends, and in fact, I've learned over time that the company that you're in, more than anything else, it's just the company you're in, right? And I remember once played some friendly games with the chef Jose Andres, and he was just so much fun to go out. He brought some friends in, and we just recently, in fact, just 2 weeks ago, we did a show that we completely did it at home. It was the first time we've ever produced a show completely. Everyone was at home.
Right.
And it was Kelly Slater, John Hamm, Jose Andres, Kyle Casal, Kevin Pollak, and Jason Alexander.
Right.
They're all at home.
That's a nice lineup.
So much of this came from those fun games that we were just having for fun with Jose and friends, where the banter is great and you walk away feeling like you had a good time. And the result, not only did we raise a lot of money for a great charity, World Central Kitchen, we also saw, celebrities at home experiencing why people like poker. Because, if I can just make this one point, I'm a very big advocate of this. One of the World Poker Tour's greatest contributions, we all make, all of the main pillars of poker make contributions to the industry. But if you ask me what the World Poker Tour's primary contribution is we remind millions of people, literally 200 million people a year watch the show. And we remind people that poker is fun, that not just pros, but we remind people that even if you don't play, or even if you were not as good, or you're like myself, it's actually fun to watch. It's fun to be in there and to root for people and to learn something. And so that's where I think we make a difference. And I'm very proud of the show's success after 18 years. We've never had this this degree of distribution, and I think it's a testament to the players putting on a great product and the production staff, but also that the world really enjoys this game.
Awesome. I love it. Let's talk about the World Poker Tour World Online Championships going on this summer. 100 million guarantee. When I heard that number, I was like, whoa, okay, this is something. We're not messing around here. 12 championship events. There's a main, a mini, and a micro tier on those as well. So how did this idea about creating this championship festival come together?
Well, again, I just said there must be something. No, that's not how it works. Originally, years ago, we wanted to bring the World Poker Tour online. We really did. We wanted to bring. We had success. If you look at the last 10 years of World Poker Tour, we went from 14 events with one event outside the U.S. at the Aviation Club to 65 events on 6 continents. And yet we still had not run a tournament online. And I think not only was not reflective of the industry, it also had a geographic, it was disproportionate to the industry in that it didn't reflect so much of the vibrant poker scene in Europe.
Right.
I mean, we see this all the time, whether it's awards or recognitions or whatever. Europe still is, has so much going on, right? And so often, because the media, we have so many media elements out here in the U.S., we sometimes miss that. But so we wanted to bring this online, but at the same time, the timing wasn't right, because what we did not want to do was slap the WPT name on something and say, right, this is the World Poker Tour event. We've learned from that experience. Before we had WPT Deep Stacks, we had these smaller events, these regional events. And the problem with the regional events is they felt a little too much like they had WPT branding, but really, was it WPT? And so when we acquired Deep Stacks and we really integrated, in fact, to the help of Chris Tarina and Ange and the team, we really set about to make sure that Deep Stacks was really the World Poker Tour, that it really reflected the prestige, that you felt like you were advancing, that you became a part of our history. Well, we wanted to do the same thing online, but what does that mean? Well, we wanted to reflect those elements that you see in live poker. We wanted to make sure that the series was treated well. So you got to have a partner willing to not just, do a million events.
Right. Yeah. Just try and get rates.
Events.
Yeah.
And treat it, right?
Yeah.
So the good thing is we found a wonderful partner, and obviously years ago we had a much different relationship with Party Gaming. They used to be our parent company years ago, but with the help of Rob Young, who's been just instrumental. I mean, it's just been so innovative and willing to take risks. And he was open to this, and he understood what we wanted to do, and he wanted to do that. And of course, what Party and Tom at Party and the group over there have done, and embracing our culture and their expertise, it just kind of fit together. So maybe this decision was made about a year ago.
Right.
What happened, however, is it came right after the effects of COVID-19. And so I did have a lot of news stories saying, how did you come up with this brilliant idea to come up with immediately after? And again, it's a little bit, but we had learned a lot. I will say, since that time, we've had these weekly meetings on what we can do to make more and more, make it feel like, it's a real WPT event.
Well, just coming off the World Poker Tour series that just happened on Party Poker, I played in a couple of those, and it did feel like something different and something special, like that you don't often get online in online poker. And I primarily as an online poker player, because I'm a streamer, so I have to focus on online events. Unless you want to let me live stream my WPT tournaments, then maybe we can talk. I don't know.
Okay, well,
I miss that element of prestige and the specialness of being trying to be a champion in an event. So that was so special as an online player, and why I'm so excited about the summer and this championship coming up. It's going to be awesome.
Christian, when he won and became the first online, I saw that interview with Lynn Gilmartin and Matt, who did the interview with him afterwards, just as if we would have been having an interview with any champion after. And there was actually some intimacy to it, because, normally what happens is you're at the Esports arena, you've won the event, and chaos is going on, and you're trying to figure out what you're going to do with this money, and people are screaming and yelling. And here he's at home, and you see where he's living, and you get a chance to have a little bit more intimate conversation of what that experience, that journey is like for an online player. And so it's really great. So we're going to do a lot more of that. We're going to have more interviews. And the thing is, all champions will be treated, they will get all the benefits of all the Champions Club membership, and they're going to be invited to come and play in the Tournament of Champions, and for those qualifying events. And so it really is, it's what we hoped it would become. And you will see, we will continue to improve. And what we found is there's so many actually things that you can do online. We were kind of thinking online, like, how do you bring the live experience to online?
Right.
But the truth is, you can do a lot of things online that you can't do that's there, because everybody's virtual, and you can get people at different times and stuff. So it's that's why I say it's an exciting time for us, because we're in the lab again, and I feel like it's like the early days when we were creating the show. We're creating what it means to be online champions, and that's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. I saw a quote earlier this week from Poker Industry Pro, which I thought you might like. Perhaps the most prestigious series to be held online ever. So that's got to be pretty good to hear. And I think you just touched a lot on some of the things you're going to be doing to make it feel that way, and make it sort of stand out and special.
Well, I definitely, I love to hear that. By the way, if you're hearing very strange sounds, I have these little dogs who are coming to visit me, who don't care if I'm in interviews or not. They just
I love it. We'll use it for the thumbnail. It'll be perfect.
But I love the quote, not because I feel that we hit everything that we wanted. I love it because that's what we're aspiring to. We want to make it prestigious. We realize that's the WPC's thing. There's two elements that you have to understand about the WPT brand. A, that we take the prestige and the legacy and all those elements quite seriously. The other thing is, we don't care where you are on your poker journey. We're
Right.
going to treat you with respect, and we are going to create an environment that still brings that degree of legacy and prestige that's reflective of wherever you are. I don't care, you play for $30, or you play for $10,000. You still, you deserve that. And if, and, some of those, some of the micro stakes, those are some of the most interesting things to watch, right? They're the greatest stories. We're about stories. So yeah, it's a very positive thing for us.
That's awesome. Taking a forward look maybe in poker and the industry as a whole, what do you think poker needs to do moving into the future? I know I'm asking you for the like thoughts in the brain again, the crystal ball, but like, what do we need to do to thrive and continue to succeed into the future?
Yeah. So first of all, I do think it's very important. We have a situation where we have millions of people who actually love playing poker. Not just the professionals. The professionals love to play it. This is their primary bread and butter. But we have millions of people who've played. They maybe haven't played, on a professional level, but they've played and they really enjoy it. We need to remind people always that they like to play poker. And so one of the components, and I'm a very big advocate of this, there's a lot of cynicism in the industry. This group is terrible, and this group is great, and they're wonderful, and we're awful, and this. The problem is there are only a handful of pillars that put enough marketing out to the world market to remind people that they like to play the game. And if that dries up, we're in trouble. Part of our strategy is we go to networks and we make very liberal deals so that they'll actually air the show a lot. Because we're not so concerned about making money on the show. That's not the business model of the World Poker Tour. What we are concerned about is promoting poker and making people go, oh, I could be that. That could be me. Well, to do that, it's great that we have, it's great that we cater to the information that we in the industry want. But there's many people who are fans, and they're just as important. And if they go away, we're going to see the industry atrophy. Now is the chance. As we're going online and we're seeing all of these new tools, we can remember we can hit literally millions more people that we couldn't before. If you just look a couple of years back, if you think about who controlled the most of the television space, there's only a couple companies. But now with online, our ability to reach people at any time and at different interests, it's so great and so important, and we need to keep pushing that. And if we don't take advantage of it while the media is cheap and it's available and everybody is welcome, the industry will suffer.
That's a great answer. If you had the ability to give a piece of advice to the players, right? There's a lot of the industry pushing the game forward, but players, what can players do to contribute to the game being healthy? Do they just support those companies, or what would you say to players in that regard as to what we have to do?
Yeah, well, the first thing the players can do, a lot of them do, and goodness, we've been a beneficiary of it, which is I am, having been around entertainment for 25 years and being around some element of the sports industry, I can tell you not everybody is so open to talk and work with media and talk about what it means to be a poker player, or to be in whether in entertainment or sports or whatever it is. It's so important because those are, look at Mike Sexton, who, man is
Legend.
a legend, right?
Amazing. Yes.
There's some gearbox in the back where you turn him on, and he just talks about how great the poker is, right? He just talks about how great poker is, and the subtleties of it and the changes. And I have seen people light up just listening to him. So that's what they first can do, is just continue to tell the message. Go have these interviews, get, support podcasts, support journalism. Don't let journalism get reduced during this time. On the contrary, go the other way. So that's the first thing. The other thing is, I really think we should have far more opportunities, and that's something that we could also work with, for pros to kind of adopt amateur players.
Right.
And how that actually works out is up to, the tour management staff, and to figure out how we do it. But I think we should do it. I would love to see in some micro-stake event adopted players where pros are out there going, that's my guy. That's right. My guy doing that. He's doing it. That's really, it doesn't take much. And it's fun. And it means the world. I know, because, we have people on our Club WPT product. They're so happy. They're the greatest customers in the world. They're the greatest cheerleaders for poker. And so it's a small thing, but I do feel like if players are willing to participate in that more, and I love to hear from them, I think it could make a world of difference.
There's absolutely something there. I'm telling you, a pro-am where you get 10 amateurs, and every 2 hours you get a lesson of where you're at, and like each pro's got their own stable in this tournament of 50. That'd be great. Who wouldn't play that? That sounds fun.
Terrific.
I need to get something going like
that. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we will support it.
Okay. And I wanted to ask about esports, because Allied Esports Entertainment is the parent company of the WPT. So how do we get the buzz surrounding esports and sort of the video game industry into poker?
Yeah. Well, again, a lot of it is telling the message. So what we're actually doing is telling people that, there's been a lot of buzz on esports, but people didn't understand, but what's the model going to be? I mean, if you're a publisher, they know what the model is. Publish great games, just take money in, just take so much money in that you don't know what to do. It's kind of, it's the early days of poker. But how does the rest of the model play out? And so for Allied Esports, we really showed people that the esports model is greatly built on the poker model, the successful poker model. In our case, we have a 3-pillar model. We do physical events, and now online events. We do in-person events. We, from those events, make content. So maybe in the course of a year, 50,000 people may play at a WPT event. From that, you make content, and that content reaches millions of people, right? And from those millions of people, you can advertise products that you can support online where you can monetize. And that really is at the end of the day, that's the elevator pitch of the World Poker Tour, but much of the poker industry. So we have shown that is a way that the esports industry can grow. So the esports is relying heavily on the poker model. And of course, we know that a lot of the audiences overlap as well. So what I do see is a lot more events where we mix up. I mean, I would love to have, I would love to, I don't want to preview too many things, but I would love to, when we get people back to the esports arena, have events where we're not only having WPT events, but we're going out and doing something fun, whether it's competitions at Top Golf or out of the golf course.
Yeah.
And then we have an esports. And we show, because right now, esports is getting a lot of the buzz, but poker is the model. Poker is the model. The affiliate model is poker. The event ecology, online, offline, is poker. The content promotion, the online monetization is poker. And so it's important for us to show that these these businesses are related, and they lift each other up.
Amazing. Adam, thanks so much for taking the time today. I am motivated after this conversation. I'm really excited to get out there this summer, try and win myself a WPT championship. So thanks so much for talking me through it.
All right. Well, we look forward to your winning your championship seat and having you then join the Champions Club. But in the meantime, thank you. I mean, those people who tell the stories of poker have been so instrumental to the World Poker Tour, and so we're very grateful to the players and all of you have helped tell the story. So thanks very much.
Thank you. Big thanks to Adam for taking the time this week. Coming into that podcast, I knew about the WPT. I'd seen it on TV. I had Mike Sexton and Vince Van Patten in my ear from when I first found poker. It was so amazing and iconic to me, that brand over the years. It's been a big part of my poker life. But in the modern day, being primarily an online player, I've fallen behind in terms of what the WPT is because I stream. I stream and I play online. That's what I do. So to hear him talk about the values that the WPT stands for, that the game of poker is fun, that prestige is important, and we take it seriously, like that is everything that I'm about in playing online poker as well, and what I try and instill in my Twitch stream. So it was just so nice to hear that someone at the top of a company believing in that is just exciting. So that was awesome. I'm hyped up. I don't know if you share my opinion out there, everyone. I know we sometimes disagree, but for me, that's the perfect way to be. So I loved it. Thank you, Adam. Now, before I let you all go this week, let's talk about hashtag #JSPokerHero. It's our weekly competition where we give a $215 million ticket to one of you listening or watching the podcast. Okay. Last week's winner was at Sir Juan 2020, who correctly answered the maximum number of clubs you can get set up in Party Poker's club games, which is 5, by the way. You win a $215 Party Poker Million ticket, so good luck in the feature event. This week's competition. How many championship events will there be in the WPT World Online Championship? Submit your answer using hashtag #JSPokerHero. Now, if you don't know this answer, you haven't listened to the podcast. So stop skipping to the contest at the end. Listen to the thing. Best of luck in the million, everyone. Represent the podcast strong. Tweet it out, hashtag #JSPokerHero, and good luck in the competition. The million, by the way, has got a brand new structure. There's one flight a day. On Sunday, I think there's 2 flights. There's like a turbo flight on Sunday, and there's one Monday morning as well. But it's a slower clock, actually, so there's a lot more play. Be curious to hear what your feedback is on that. It missed the guarantee by a little bit this week, but it is a much slower event than some of the past weeks where it's kind of turbo-y and quick, and you have to take some flips with $50,000 on the line at the final table or something like that. So I think a really cool change, but I'd love to hear what you think. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling now. Sorry, editors. This one took a while. Thank you all so much for watching/listening to the podcast. If you're on iTunes, hit the subscribe button. Spotify, you just do your Spotify thing, hang out. YouTube, like, comment, subscribe would be amazing. Thank you all so much, but until next week, we'll see you later.